Hello, I'm Lowman Hutson, and I'm going to cook something called Mimi's chili. This is a recipe that my husband's grandmother, who lived in Florida, invented. And she invented it when her children were young, and it was a meal that children would especially like. It's a sweet chili, and it's served on mashed potatoes. Everybody loves Mimi's chili. Even adults who have it end up saying, oh, please, if we're coming to your house or your mother-in-law's, can we have Mimi's chili? So we start off with sauteing some onion, bell pepper, both green, and I use red because the green is a little harder on the digestion. So I have a little bit of red and a lot of the red. It's onion, some bell pepper in a little bit of olive oil. And we'll let that saute. Until it's translucent. Got it too hot. I'm cooking on electric. It's not as responsive as gas. I've turned it down, but it'll take a while. I chopped all of this ahead of time. And the red bell pepper always stains the cutting board, so something to keep in mind when using red bell pepper. The next step is to add about 1.5 pounds of ground meat and brown it. My husband likes to cook this with me. This is usually the point where he breaks up all the meat. I put very little salt in this, just barely any, because the other ingredients are salty enough. I'm using a medium-high for this. If you're cooking this, usually at this point you would have some potatoes boiling at the same time. Just cut up russet potatoes with a little bit of salt and boil those to make mashed potatoes. Takes about 20 minutes boiling for the potatoes to get soft in this higher elevation, as they say. We're not at sea level. This spatula is a great tool with this kind of work because it has the rubber edge and the harder edge. I have a non-stick pan though, so I'm sticking with the rubber edge. Okay, next ingredient is a can of red kidney beans. Those aren't as red as some of the other times. One of the key ingredients that really adds the flavor is the Worcestershire sauce. I'm not even sure if I pronounced that right, but it is really important, and we use a liberal amount. My mother-in-law taught me this way with the big cooking spoon, and we use about 2 spoons. I don't know what the equivalent is in tablespoons, but this really gives it a lot of its flavor. And then the last ingredient before we let it simmer for a while we mash the potatoes will be ketchup. And you put a lot of ketchup. That's the sweet part, because ketchup is a lot of sugar. And so I can't tell you exactly how much, but I will know when I see the color turn mildly red. And you want a good sauce with this as well, so I really don't want to boil away all this sauce. At the time that my mother-in-law's boys went away to college, the youngest one prepared a cookbook. And so it's a cookbook of Oma's recipes, and this recipe is in there. And I should have looked it up to see what she said as far as how much ketchup. And in fact, when she's simmering it, or when I'm simmering it, if the juice seems to be boiling away too fast, you can add a little bit of boiling water to keep a consistency where it's a thick chili. If you were thinking of a Texas chili, a spicy Texas chili with beans, but it still has some juice to it. So you want that to go over the mashed potatoes. Talking about an unhealthy meal, when my grandmother-in-law would make this, she served it with mashed potatoes, cinnamon rolls, and Coke. This was back in the South, and this was a kid's meal, and they sugared them up. Okay, I'm going to let that simmer now for a while, and maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and I will mash the potatoes. Okay, I'm going to drain the potatoes. And then I'm going to add butter and cream. I'm going to add a fair amount of butter because this is about 5 pounds of potatoes. So that was a tablespoon, maybe a half. Here's my handy dandy masher. After I mash with this, then we're going to beat it with a blender just to get a nice creamy consistency. The potatoes were cooked in a little bit of salt, but other than that, I don't salt it. You can add salt or pepper at the table if it's not enough for your individual tastes, but we try and not add too much salt to everything. Okay, now the cream, just to get the right consistency. It's a southern recipe, so it's full of rich things, butter and cream. It's hard to know exactly precise measurements with mashed potatoes because you don't always have the same amount of potatoes or the same sizes. I'm going to blend this or beat it. Actually, it's a mixer beater. So I don't want it too stiff. I'm going to add a little more cream before I beat the eggs because I just don't want to wear out the beater or cause it to fail on me. It doesn't take long to do this, but it gets all the rest of the lumps out. Okay, we're ready to serve. Okay, the way that this is served is that this is the meal. So you don't need to leave room on the plate for other things, but you make a well in the potatoes. And then you serve the chili. You want a lot of juice to flow over the potatoes. Okay, so this is Mimi's chili, my husband's father's mother, who invented this in Florida as a dish for children, but young adults, meaning all adults, love it too. Let's give it a try. Oh yes, the memories.